Hey guys, Goldstein here. Let me step out of the way for a second so you can enjoy that. But we got to get going before the sun goes down. I'm right here in the beautiful hills that King Solomon himself ruled over. King Solomon was born in Jerusalem, Israel, many, many years ago. And he was the son of King David and Bathsheba. Two incredible parts of monarchy from different parts of the world, both connected by the Red Sea. And King Solomon was incredible because he was known to be the wisest man ever. The story goes that Solomon made a sacrifice to God, and it really made God happy. And then God came to Solomon in a dream and said, "Solomon, what would you like? I'll grant you anything in the world." And a lot of people would say, wow, what a great time to ask for more wishes, or what a great time to ask for all the gold in the world. And Solomon got there. But Solomon didn't ask for that, not for things that would be self-serving. Solomon asked God to grant him wisdom, to grant him knowledge and understanding. And because he asked for something that was for the sake of giving to others, to the masses, that's what he was granted by God. Solomon is revered throughout Judaism, Islam, Christianity. There isn't a person in the world that has ever studied any form of religion whatsoever that wouldn't know who King Solomon was. So today, for not too long, around 15 minutes, we're going to read the book of Mishlei, Proverbs. It's one of several books attributed to Solomon. They say this is probably according to when it was written. Excuse me. It was probably written in between the middle of the books. But without any question, the wisdom contained in this book, when you learn that you can't just memorize words, you have to plumb the depths of Torah to gain the knowledge, then you start to have an inkling of understanding as to what King Solomon, the wisest of wise men, was trying to accomplish when he wrote this book. It's a book of great depth and godliness. But what was Solomon's entire purpose in life? It was to vanquish, to slay his evil inclination. So he surrounded himself with all of the luxuries in the world. He was the wealthiest king of all of the Israelite kingdoms. And after surrounding himself with all of the wealth, after having 700 wives and 300 concubines, after traveling the world and having the finest of riches that any king could possibly imagine, Solomon continued to stay devoted to one thing: God, his path to godliness. And what was his test to himself? That he, the king of Israel, the son of the great King David, is going to test himself to the point, with God's help, that he can surround himself with this base level luxury, yet he won't fall, yet he won't go to the depths that it calls him to, that he will continue to maintain a straight path towards Torah, towards righteousness, towards the nation, towards justice and wisdom. And for so many years of his life he did. Only in his later years do they say that this great man, this incredible man of God, fell. That he allowed some of his wives to bring their foreign gods into the land and to worship them. And maybe he worshiped them himself to satisfy his wives. I don't know, I wasn't there. But they say Solomon fell because he amassed too much wealth. And a Jewish king isn't supposed to amass too much wealth. And because he continued commerce with Egypt, traded horses with Egypt, and God did not want his nation returning to Egypt. God didn't want his nation returning to Egypt for any reason. And for that, Solomon was punished. But for that, we also know that Solomon was an incredible human being, and his works have been studied and held on in some of the worst and lowest times of darkness all the way up to the greatest times of light. So today we're going to start, and I'm going to pick on every word, so bear with me real fast. Mishlei Shlomo ben David, Melech Yisrael. Now remember, Solomon took the throne over when he was a teenager. He was a boy. So here's a teenager with all the teenager's hormones and lust. And again, anybody who has ever studied Solomon's works will tell you that almost everything he compares things to are women or the finest things in life. So here he is, a teenage boy. He takes the throne of his father. He has to live up to his father's great, incredible shoes that are very hard to fill. I mean, we're talking King David here. And here he is begging God. God, I'm asking you for something now. So it starts with a big mem. If you see that, and I have notes in my book, the big mem, it's the letter mem. Why does Mishlei, why does Proverbs start with this enlarged letter? You can see all the other letters are smaller than that letter. It's another lesson, and unless you have plumbed the depths, you don't know. And that lesson is, mem has a numerical correspondent. Every letter equals a number in Hebrew. And mem equals 40. And that is Solomon's way of showing, it's beautiful, it's poetic, just like his father, that he spent 40 days and 40 nights fasting in order to receive this wisdom, this prophecy from God, which is completely and absolutely related to Moses, who also didn't eat or drink, according to what we know, for 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai, which we just learned in the Torah over the past few weeks. To receive the Torah, Moses fasted. He didn't take in any physical food. He was just plugged into God completely for 40 days and 40 nights. So too, Solomon, in order to receive God's Torah, God's wisdom, he wanted to emulate the greatest prophet of all, Moses, the person who received the Torah with the nation of Israel on the mountain below. Very, very beautiful. So even the first letter, just like the first letter of the Bible, the Torah, Bereshit bara Elokim, the Bet, also has a lot of depth to it. You have to understand that every single letter here was written with intent. Mishlei Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael. So here, Shlomo's saying, who's the author of this book? It's me, Shlomo, Solomon, the son of David, the king of Israel. He's giving his credentials. And he's showing, look, I'm David's son. I have what to say here. It's beautiful. Ledat, chachma, umusar, lahavid imre bina. Not only is he trying to tell us what this book is about, he's also showing us that this book is divided into 3 sections. In order to make known words of wisdom and discipline, and to make words of understanding discernible. Now, you could easily read right past that and think that all of those descriptions are the same. But you have to break them down, or you're not really learning Torah. You're memorizing something so you can regurgitate it. But where's the depth to it? Where's the spark of light? Where's the beauty? Why did he call this Proverbs? Why is this book written in a way that it's allegorical? Meaning, when he discusses a woman, for instance, what to avoid, an adulteress, he says, or a harlot. These are Solomon's words. When Solomon tells us to avoid that type of woman, or that type of person in general, he wants us to see that as something that is exactly related to that harlot and that woman, who you should avoid because it will lead you to temptation. But Solomon also wants you to plumb the depths and realize that that harlot and that woman is actually equal to idol worship. So you can study this and learn this on the depth of a simpleton, which Solomon is about to explain. Or you can take this to the greatest of depths, like the Vilna Gaon, or Rashi, or Rambam, or Ramban, or anybody, any of the greatest Torah sages throughout history. And you can take it to that depth as well. That's the beauty of having somebody as wise as Solomon pen this, with what's called Ruach HaKodesh, that godly help to allow him to have this wisdom. So Solomon is telling us 3 different types of knowledge, understanding. We have Chachma. What is Chachma? Look, Chachma, you can consider it as just wisdom, but in truth, Chachma is truth and justice. Chachma is the understanding that I can choose between something that is the exact opposite of something else, meaning I can choose between hot and cold, or right and wrong, or good and evil. Exact opposites. Chachma allows me to make that choice to go left, to go right, to make the proper decisions. Truth and justice. Now we have Musar. Musar, as they say, if you're giving somebody Musar, you're showing them, look, you're not really doing something right. And if you improve your ways, it'll lead you to a much more wholesome life, a better connection to God and to your people, and you'll be a greater reflection of the light that God has put inside of you. Musar, you're showing somebody, but some of the commentaries take that Musar to a different level. They say that the next thing in line after Chachma, after wisdom, Musar, means actually denigrating the wicked. Meaning going to the wicked and saying, you are wicked, you are evil, what you're doing is wrong. Standing up for what's right. We're about to get into stuff that's going to directly relate to the mass chaos going on in the beautiful United States of America. It can directly relate to that right now. Solomon's talking about it. Robbers, murderers, ambushers in the drawing you in to be a part of their cabal of evil. And he's warning you against it. If you're just tuning in, thank you. We are on Proverbs. We're just started 1. We're on around 3 or 4 right now. To accept wise discipline, righteousness, and justice and fairness. Understand, Solomon built the ark, the holy ark that stood in the tabernacle and in the temple. What was the ark made of? Take a second and think about it. What was the ark made of? 2 different substances. One is pure gold. One is pure gold on the underside. It's an entire box. Inside of that box is a shittim wood box, an acacia, pardon me, I don't know it in English, wood box. And then over that is another box of pure gold, each box fitting inside of the other. So all you really see when you look at the Ark of the Covenant is pure gold. You don't see the wood inside. And what is that wood, that shittim it's called in Hebrew, shittim wood, inside of those 2 layers, that sandwich of purity of gold supposed to represent? It's to teach us just like Solomon. While Solomon had to struggle his whole life to fight his evil inclination, and now he's imparting these pearls of wisdom to all of us throughout the generations, using these allegories and stories and pictures to show us so all of us can understand on every level. So too, when God instructed him to build the Ark of the Covenant, he was teaching him a lesson, and all of Israel and all the nations a lesson, that even the Holy of Holies still had the impurity on the inside. Because that shittim wood was used in Shittim, in an actual place, for pagan worship. And the nation of Israel worshiped that idol, that horrendous base level of idolatry, a fleeting moment of nothingness in compared to the eternal bliss of godliness that has outlasted all of the nothingness throughout the generations. So God made us create this ark, that holy resting place of the 10 commandments that we just read about. We just received them as a nation. With that acacia, that shittim wood on the inside, to always remind us, just like Solomon. Yes, you have gold on the outside. Yes, you have gold on the inside. From both levels. From that internal aspect and that external reflection that you show off to the world. You fight every day to be that pure gold on the inside and on the outside. But don't forget, even the holiest of holies, the Ark of the Covenant, and Solomon himself, the son of King David, the messianic line, also had that impurity inside of them, because the holier you are, the more righteous of a human you are, the greater that lust is, the greater you are tempted. Doesn't that make sense? Because there has to be a balance. So that's what Solomon's building of the Ark of the Covenant is meant to teach us. And it's beautiful. And it's so much deeper than just saying, oh, look, a beautiful ark of gold and with some great wood on the inside. No, there's reasons for it. There's lessons in every iota and aspect of the Torah and in life. Let's do the 5th chapter. Then I'm going to jump ahead. I want to speak to all of my American friends. You're going to hear this out loud. And this was written in these hills thousands and thousands of years ago. Liftoyim armolanar dasum o mizmo. To provide simpletons with cleverness, a youth with knowledge and design. He's telling us right now, even the simplest of humans, somebody who simply has never even taken the time to sit down and study wisdom, to study the fear of God. Not I'm fearful of God, but fearful of God because of the vast, incredible impossibility, the eternalness of God, the eternity of godliness versus what is going to live and die right here in my hands, including me, including all of you watching. We can't possibly fathom that with logic. It's impossible. So he's telling you, even you simpletons that have never even tried to fathom the depths of wisdom in the Torah, of knowledge, of fear of heaven, I'm going to give you the tools so you can be shrewd, so when that evil inclination strikes within you, you now have the tools to fight it. It's like the original self-help book. This is like Tony Robbins' great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather if he was Jewish. V'yosef lekach v'nachon, V'yosef lekach v'navon, tachbulot yikneh. That a wise one may hear and increase his learning, and a discerning one may acquire strategies. So understand, he's saying a chacham, a wise person, a person who can see the difference between justice and truth and not justice and truth, injustice and lies. That chacham is amazing. But they say there's somebody else that's greater. That's a navon, okay? V'navon tachbulot yikneh. A navon's wisdom is superior to that of a chacham. Why? It's beautiful. Because whereas the chacham can understand the concept between choosing between one is good, one is bad, the navon can make deductions on his own without even having to learn more from others. The navon takes the wisdom and then goes to the depths of it to deduce, to bring about the purest of juice that he can squeeze out of it, or she. Divrei chachamim v'chidosam. Yirat Adonai, Reshit Dat, Chachma Umusar Avilim Bazu. I'm going to get to my friends in America right now, but just listen to this last thing, okay? It's beautiful. Fear of God is the beginning of knowledge. Skeptics scorn wisdom and discipline. We're going to end reading on this, then I'm going to skip a little bit forward. Fear of God is the beginning of knowledge. Let that sink in for just a second. Why? Why? Because if you fear God, okay? And again, fearing God isn't, oh my God, God's going to hit me. God's after me. I fear God. Again, it's having that lack of actual ability to comprehend and absorb God's vastness and greatness, so you can fear that massive divide between you, even though you're always together and close. God is still that amazing, great impossibility that we can't really grasp without emunah, without that truth that we strive for. So why is fear of God the beginning of knowledge? Fear of God is the foundation of knowledge. What does that mean? If you have a tremendously strong base where you have created yourself into a person throughout your life, struggling many times to better yourself, to turn yourself into a better image of God, godliness on earth, then you've built a foundation where you have that fear of heaven, where you don't want to walk down that path of evil because you fear godliness, not just divine retribution. You fear not accomplishing the greatness that God has allowed you to accomplish. That is the ultimate hell, knowing what you could have accomplished and not getting there. So that fear of God has to come first. Then you can sit in the yeshiva. Then you can sit in the seminary. Then you can sit in the study halls. And then you can tear your head up and down, and argue with your study partner across from you in an argument that builds unity, that doesn't take away from unity, until you get to the truth. And then when you get to that truth of godliness, guess what both parties do? They don't huff and puff and turn their backs on each other and walk away. when they're studying in the Jewish seminaries and yeshiva. You know what they do? They acquiesce to each other. When one sees that one has gained the ground and has basis for what he's saying in his argument, or she, the other, learning with them, eventually realizes and understands that, yes, your camp is righteous and your answer is righteous, and let's continue on to another topic where we can continue to plumb the depths of the Torah. Yet what are we seeing now? What are we seeing now in America, let's say? We're seeing people who can't even have a conversation. Not even a conversation, not even with your family. It's not new, it's been going on for quite some time. But when you can't talk anymore, when there's no more speech, then you're seeing what's leading up to it. You're seeing what it becomes. Eventually that explodes. When we can't have discourse to build each other into one unified understanding of truth, then all we are doing is dividing each other. And all we're doing is stomping on each other. All we're doing is shooting each other. All we're doing is burning each other's buildings down. Doesn't matter who, when, and where. Doesn't matter who's racist, when, and where. None of that matters right now. What matters, only thing that matters, and I learned that from Israel, from what God teaches us every day, what matters is unity. And even you can look at the news and realize how far you are from that. But you can also realize how you can start at home. You can start in your neighborhood. You can start with your friends. You can start with your children. And if you can do that, and your neighbors can do the same, then force multiplied, you have changed your own world. And let them burn their own cities down, or let them loot and riot here and there, or let them chant peacefully in the streets and say, we want justice. Just like here, Chachma. If you're searching for truth and justice, and I'll give the example of Solomon, the ultimate story of justice, when two mothers came to Solomon, mothers, and both were arguing that this baby is hers. No, this baby's mine. They were both arguing that they were the mother. And most of you know this story. And Solomon, in his wise judgment, and you might think this insane, but it's brilliant in its judgment, he looked at both women and said, okay, no problem. Give me the baby. I will cut this baby in half, and you can split it. And then immediately, a woman cried out, no, I'd rather her take the baby than my baby die. And so what did Solomon do? He knew that was the real mother. So too, when you see people peacefully chanting for justice in the streets, or even loud verbally, vocally, or even at sometimes a little bit aggressive and pushing and violent on the protest lines, that happens, that's a protest. Then you know that's the real mother. Then you know those are people who still have a love at least for community and for America. But when you see the mother that's willing to have that baby cut in half, then you know that's the thief. Then you know that's the one that needs to be sent out of the room. And that's a great lesson from Solomon. But let me just skip ahead just for 1 second. I'm going to blow your mind for a second. We are in Proverbs, and I'm almost done. Proverbs 10, verse 10 and 11. You ready? Bani, my son, im yifatu chataim al tovei. My child, if sinners entice you, do not consent. We're about to talk about the mob mentality. Im ya'omru l'cho. Itanu. Ne'erva l'dam. Nitzpna l'naki chinam. If they say to you, hey, come with us, let us wait in ambush for bloodshed. Let us look for an innocent one without cause. How many innocent ones? How many innocent ones? Whether it's the man on the floor who was killed by a dirty cop, okay? Or whether it was the man trying to protect his store from a bunch of dirty thugs. The innocent one is being hunted. There is evil in all camps. There is rotten apples in all trees. Everybody knows it. It's nothing new. As Solomon said wisely, after the sun has sunk over the land of Israel, there is nothing new under it. None of this is new. It's just how we relate to it in our own lives today and what we do with it and take it and how we create ourselves into better people tomorrow. Come with us. Let us wait in ambush for bloodshed. Let us lurk for an innocent one without cause. Nivolim kisho'ol chayim utmimim kiyar debor. Like the grave, let us swallow them alive while they are whole. What does that mean? While they are whole. Why did Solomon write, while they are whole? It doesn't mean while they are one piece. Of course they're one piece. Let us swallow them alive while they're whole. These robbers, these thieves, these looters, these disgusting people who think they can burn down a city and get their message across, instead of those that are chanting and protesting for justice, they're saying not only let us swallow them alive, let us rob them whole, when they're wealthy, when they're thick with money. Let's take what's theirs and make it ours. And now we're going to get to socialism. You ready? It's all right here. It's brilliant. Like those descending into the pit. Kol hon yakar nimtza nimale batenu shlo. We will find all precious wealth. We will fill our houses with booty. Not that kind of booty. I know I am talking about King Solomon here. B-O-O-T-Y, as in arg. I'm a pirate. Come on, guys. Raise your head out of the gutter. But they're saying, let's kill them, let's take what's theirs, and let's call it ours. Doesn't that sound like, well, I don't know, breaking into Target and Macy's, every other store around the block, stealing liquor, stealing shoes, stealing laundry detergent? Why? All in the name of what? Justice? Hello? No, that is the mother, the thief mother, that screams out with a scream that's not her own even. It's the thief that says, that child's mine. Therefore, I'm going to do anything in my power, and I'm going to tell you that child's mine by showing you how insane I can be. I'm even willing to let that child get cut in half to prove my point. Yet the real mother says, no, I'm standing the line. That police officer behind me that's got separated from his team, they are going to go home to their kids because it's not about that. That's the lesson you have to learn. How to separate the filth from the justice seekers, no matter whose responsibility it is. It's up to us to see it, even if the people in their own group refuse to, even if the police sometimes refuse to. It's up to us to see through it. Don't you think for a second that your prayers and your Torah learning can't change the course of what goes on in this world. That's not to say that all of a sudden prayer is going to save you from a massive mob coming down your street to kill you. No, an AK-47 with around 20, 30 mags in a good firing position or multiple positions might. With prayer. Just like Jacob split his camp into, 2, 3, in order so that everyone would survive if he was attacked. He didn't rely on miracles. He prayed to God, and then he went into action. So yes, I'm telling you, stand up and protect your families if you hear the riots down the street. And yes, protect your families by teaching them how to be a solid human being who hates no one for the sake of hatred. Not to turn the other cheek, not to take a slap and say, thank you, sir, may I have another? But to respect all people, no matter what their belief system, no matter what their skin color, no matter if they believe in your God, my God, or some other God. You understand where we have to go with this? Do you know why King Solomon, you know why his nickname was Kohelet? Kohelet. Do you know what the root word of Kohelet is? Kahal. Congregation, congregate. Why? Because King Solomon would stand on these hilltops and he would teach this Torah not just to his people, not just to the Jews. He would teach it to the entire world, to all of the nations. Because King Solomon understood the power of unity, which is why he had no enemies, foreign or domestic, for the 40 years, again 40, that he reigned. We will find all precious wealth. We will fill our houses with it. Cast your lot among us. There will be one pouch for all of us. So what are they telling? They're telling you, hey, look, why don't you come here and riot with us? It's awesome, man. You can run in here and grab whatever you want. And guess what? Not only that, we're all in this together, okay? You don't really have to do much. You don't even have to kill the guy. You don't have to kill the shop owner. Just come with us. Be a part of this gang that we've created. It's the way to go. And the guy's like, sure, I'll take it. And then they're saying, once we destroy what's not ours. Once we kill that person and take it, we're going to split it all equally. Socialism, isn't it great? We're going to rob everybody. We're going to destroy 100 years of people's labor and work overnight. And we're going to take everything that isn't ours. And then we're going to split it amongst ourselves equally. Doesn't that sound exactly like what certain people within the Democratic Party and other places are trying to push upon America? It's like word for word. My child, Solomon says, and I'll end here, do not walk on the way with them. Restrain your foot from their pathway. For their feet run to evil, and they hasten to spill blood. For the net seems spread out with free bait in the eyes of every winged creature. It's like you get these crowds and they're like, wow, look at all this free stuff, broken windows, there's no cops. Matter of fact, the cops gave us their police station to completely gut and destroy. This is like a miracle for the gangs. Hallelujah, they're saying. But little do they know that all of that loot is just like Solomon says, it's like the seeds that the birds see from above. And they see the seeds scattered in the field. They're like, well, it's my lucky day. Little do they know there's a massive net underneath, ready to capture them. What is that net? That isn't law enforcement. That isn't you. That's the net of godliness. That's the net of sin. That's the net of evil. And it's going to ensnare them and entrap them and their descendants if this is the path they take. Not my words, ladies and gents. The words of the wisest king, who, by the way, married an African woman and gave birth to Jewish African babies who right now, after 1,000 years of separation, are serving the borders of this land in every possible way. In the rebirth of the prophetic rebirth of the state of Israel. Go ahead and call us racists. I'll one-up that. But they wait in ambush for their blood and lurk for their souls. They say when you steal from another person, it's as if you have murdered them. When you take away somebody's livelihood, it's as if you have snatched away their very soul. You can see a video from the LA riots, I believe. I just saw it minutes ago. This older black man was screaming at the crowd of looters and rioters, saying, what have you done to me? My whole life, I have tried to do good. I have tried to build myself and get ahead. I've tried. And in a night, you've burned down my life. Anguish. He wants justice he'll never see. Everybody wants justice for something. The question is, do you attain that justice through righteousness? Or do you attain that justice through fire, brimstone, and spreading fear throughout the land? You have to choose. And you, watching this, learning with me, have to choose how you respond. You can continue spreading divisiveness and fear. You can continue spreading videos of riots. Or you can take that 30 seconds and you can study God's word to strengthen you. You have to choose, not me. I've made my choice. God bless you all from Israel. God bless America, the real mother that screams over the anguish of knowing that her child is being cut in half. God bless you all from Israel.